Hello everyone and welcome to the TigerPaw Software Business Building series that focuses on sharing industry best practices, helpful business tips, and valuable partner training to VARs, MSPs, and technology service providers. My name is James Kernan and I'll be your host for today's call. We have two co-presenters today, David Russell and Brian Hoppy, both of an award-winning leadership consulting firm named Manage to Win. Today's session is called How TigerPaw Makes You More Profitable. We anticipate this session to last about 30 minutes and then we'll open up for questions at the end. As a reminder, all the sessions will be recorded and those of you who registered will get a follow-up email with the link to the recording. Now let's get started with today's session. I'll hand the floor over to David.
Hey, thanks James. I appreciate it. And just as a quick intro for those of you who don't know me, it's scary that I end up coaching leaders nowadays. James, you're younger than me, so this probably hasn't happened to you yet, but who are younger than the number of years I've been in the computer industry. So they're already running multi-million-dollar businesses, but they need some help. So that's what I've been doing. Been there, done that in the computer industry. I've been around it a while and had a .com that went .bomb, which I'm not proud of, but that was the history. And I'm out there. I've got Brian with us. Brian, you want to say hey, give a brief intro into your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was the Chief Financial Officer at McLean Intelligent Solutions. I was there for about 12 years. And I started off as a second employee and grew the business to about 40 employees. Been involved in the industry for a number of years and was able to really learn a lot of the best practices and things that I think a lot of you will be interested in today. So I'm happy to be here with you, Dave.
Yeah, well, glad to have you. I love the fact that Brian comes from the service manager side, to the CFO. So I want to kind of give you a reference point of where I'm going to be coming from. So basically, what happened to me, I mentioned my .com experience. HP gave me a funding commitment of $10 million to go out and build a .com. And we went down the road, ended up hosting 1,800 online stores for partners, which was what we were trying to do, but they ended up shutting down the fund. And so it went from .com to .bomb. And that was in 2002. The mid-year of 2002, and then the only job I could get was to become a VP of channels at a software company that did HR software. And within about 3 months, I realized I had leadership attributes, but not skills. And I had fallen into that bucket that many of you are in, where you're a great tech or you're a great salesperson, and I was more on the sales side. And I went out and started a company. And I really was inconsistent in the way that I managed people. And my big failing was that first item of 3 strands leadership, that first strand, which is systems. I was systematic in sales, I was systematic in accounting, I was systematic in software development. But when it came to how I hired people, managed them, developed them, and retained them, I was very inconsistent. So this 3 strands concept is a rope has 3 strands, and you can basically climb from one level to the next with that. And if you are systematic in the way you do things as a leader, hire, manage, develop, retain, if you get people engaged in meaningful work and you express sincere gratitude, you value them as a member of the team in ways they prefer, you can really grow your company with these systems in place. Otherwise, you're going to hit a wall somewhere between 10 and 25 employees. Now, I'm going to talk more about this when I'm at the conference in a few weeks, at the annual conference. Would love that, but I like this kind of image of 3 strands of leadership. You're going from ledge to ledge to climb that mountain to achieve that thing you want to achieve. This is where it comes from, a cord of 3 strands, not easily broken, quickly broken type of thing. So that's kind of my reference point. And where I'd like to drive the discussion today is you have a certain leadership style, and that can make you more profitable. TigerPaw is a key component in that because you need to be able to track key data in the business and drive the business based on those metrics. And I think each of us here have seen that. Certainly, James, with your background with the consulting, and then you're driving the sales side on TigerPaw now.
Absolutely. Yep.
Without the metrics, without the data, you hit a wall in company growth, right? I mean, you've probably seen that in a number of people out there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like being on a diet without a scale. You know, you need to know how to do it, right? Yeah, I think I
like that one. I'm going to use that one. I've heard the thing of, scoring a touchdown and there's no applause, but I like the diet without a scale. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so where we're going to drive, we're going to focus on these 4 key areas. We're going to talk high level today because we really I want to challenge you that you're going to see it in a moment. This industry, the multiple industries that TigerPaw serves, but tech industry, we get caught up so much in fire drills that it's really a struggle for leaders often to work on their business, really develop the company culture, and drive the business where it needs to go. Now, this slide, I'm not diving into this in detail, but the fact of the matter is there is a huge amount of functionality available to you in TigerPaw, and we almost contacted you at the last moment, James, said, hey, can we do a poll of how many of you feel you could use TigerPaw functionality more completely in your business? And I think we'd probably get close to 100%, if not 100% of people saying, well, we love what we use with it, but yeah, exactly. We could do more.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'll answer that and say 100% would raise their hand.
Yeah, so 100%. And I think, can you give us any brief story, James, of when you've been out working with partners, have you talked to somebody who kind of says, well, for years I used TigerPaw, didn't fully implement it, and I had some issues with leadership, and the company really didn't have systems and processes in place, and then they made the investment of time and maybe engaged somebody, for some advice who'd been there, done that, and what happened with their organization?
Yeah, it's again. So let me even go back in time a little bit further. So I've been with TigerPaw for just 6 months, but I've been part of their community for a long time. And prior to that, I was a business coach and ran my own consulting practice for 10 years. And the common denominator there is it's like everyone I worked with all wanted to grow sales, wanted to grow their team, grow revenues and profits, but they all struggled with how do you get there? And the foundation is the software. You've got to build your business on the right tools. And we'll talk about that today. So it's a common problem. I'm not going to pick on any one person, but as a consultant, my old answer used to be, they'd say, hey, what was the best PSA out there? My old answer would be, it's the one that you use. It's the one that you train your team on, and it's the one that they implement and get their job done. They're all good. And then now the reality is I'm here for a reason because I believe in TigerPaw. I believe it's the best one, and we'll talk about that a little bit today. But there's been countless occasions of even before I got here, working with customers, getting them to further implement different modules in their business. Managing lots of people and managing growth, everybody thinks they want to grow and make lots of money, but it can be difficult. But the reality is if you roll out the right tool and you give the information to your team members, allow them to do their job, you hired them for a reason. They're all smart people. You got to give them the right tools, and then managing them gets really easy. And they have the right information to make the right decisions. They've got all the information at their fingertips, and it's, again, the accountability gets really simple. So there's a lot of examples prior to me getting here, and even here, it's probably my greatest challenge is to really motivate the current customers to go deeper in TigerPaw, because that's how you're going to grow your business. And one last comment here is it really boils down to you need to make more money or save more money. And you can do that with your tools. And, the small businesses, it's maybe a little easier to roll out. But, it's, anyway, so I can go on and on for days, but I can't stress the importance of utilizing your tool and just going deeper with it.
Great. Well, that's exactly it. And I think if we look at these 4 areas of your business, the tool is a tool. And what drives how you use that is really your leadership systems and your culture. And so what we find is that when people are missing the systems, the leadership systems, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of fire drills out there. And Brian, you were involved in HTG, so you've had contact with a lot of companies, you know, not just what was going on in McLean. But do you want to talk to any of these bullets here as far as what you've seen as far as how that drains profits or takes away opportunities when these things are happening?
Absolutely, yeah. I think especially, so definitely I would say most of the companies lack goals for their employees, as we see here from Covey. And then even when, a lot of times when they have goals, you have a leader who's running around and pointing to this thing and pointing to that thing and saying, who's doing this and who's doing that, and kind of crazy making, so to speak. And even if they do have goals, it ends up that they're spending most of their days just fighting fires and putting out problems that are a lot of times due to a lack of focus or a lack of process. And so I see that all the time for sure.
Well, it's funny you use that term crazy making. It's not one of my phrases, but I've always liked it. So to focus, it comes from not having the systems in place. So when I could dive into each of the three strands of leadership, but really the key turning point for me and where I've spent the majority of my time and focus over the last 12, 13 years is developing systems. And so I want to kind of touch on each of these very high level. So this weekly sanctuary, people are like, what's that? You talking about going to church? This is a little bit different. So what I'm talking about is once a week, you are taking time, typically at least 30 minutes, might be an hour, and you are focusing on how are we doing pursuing our annual goals for the organization. What did I try to get done towards achieving those goals this past week? What am I going to do this next week? It actually comes from Lee Iacocca, who turned around Chrysler about 25, 30 years ago. Wrote a book called Iacocca, and in there he talked about one of the critical things he did was every Sunday night he separated himself from the family for 2 hours and did this. Went through this exercise. Okay, what am I trying to achieve? How did I do as far as my list that I wanted to do last week? What do I need to get done this week so we can continue moving forward? It's critical. So this is a key time management technique and focus technique. We talked about fire drills and crazy making, where you can stay focused. Target goals is my acronym to replace the SMART acronym. It's basically the same thing. It stands for the preposition to. A is action verb, RG is realistic goal, E is effective measurement, and T is time bound. So I work with companies all the time, and they may have a revenue goal, but rarely anything else. So at the company level, like James was talking about, and then each employee, or O'Brien was, and each employee needs goals, and they need to understand how that relates to the organization achieving goals. The systems are in place for follow-up. Quite frankly, it's worse for you to set goals and set an expectation with an employee and then not follow up than to not have goals at all. Would you guys agree?
Yeah. Spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So your company culture, if you want to get beyond that 10, 15, 20, maybe 25 employees, you really need these systems in place. But if you have the systems in place, and then that fourth bullet, you get people engaged in what they feel is personally fulfilling for them, that relates to your business objectives, and then you value them as members of the team, sincere gratitude, you can really grow the organization. You can really make the most of a tool like TigerPaw because you'll have these things in place. Either you guys want to share any stories that relate to this or things you...
Yeah, let me interject there too, Dave. I think, especially you mentioned on the target goals, and employees really understanding how their goals relate to what the company is trying to achieve, and I believe it's one of the things that Gallup researched as well was that a key aspect of employee engagement is understanding how the work I'm doing today is helping the company achieve the overall goals. most employees probably don't understand. Okay, what are we trying to achieve as a company? And that's one of the reasons that we a lot of times see very low engagement among the employees. So I just wanted to interject that.
Oh no, good point. Good point. So once again, so TigerPaw, once we define these things, TigerPaw gives your employees views into this. So, how am I doing as far as my sales versus another salesperson or the sales for the team, overall objective? How am I doing with my utilization rate as a tech or my billable hours, whatever it might be? There's things here where TigerPaw really supports you. So that's a great thing. So we're talking leadership. As we transfer from that, there's the financial management piece, and I wish we could do a poll and ask you how many people have a budget. We did a survey of a webinar we did recently about finances, and 38% said they have no budget, or if they have a budget, they really don't pay attention to it. And I think the number actually is much higher, because those were people who were interested in, hey, I need to get better at this. So they actually showed some discipline, some interest.
Right.
But these are the items. I mean, I'll let Brian, shoot through this or touch on this a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely.
As a CFO guy, but
absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's a key piece, and one of the things we look at, with Service Leadership as an organization that does benchmarking among 22,000 IT service providers, and having a budget is really one of those key pieces that they call out on the financial side of things that really affects ultimately the performance and profitability of a company. And so that's why that's a really important piece. Also, looking at the chart of accounts, what we find is that most people, what they do is they spin up QuickBooks or whatever system they might be using, and whatever chart of accounts happens to be in there, that's just kind of what they use, and they just kind of put numbers in where it seems to make sense. And that makes it ultimately really difficult to drive profitability, because when we don't understand exactly what categories our revenue is coming from and then exactly what categories our costs go into, there's a lot of trouble finding key things like what's my gross margin percentage on particular lines of business or things like that. And so that one we see a lot. We see manual processes for maybe it's putting invoices into your accounting system. We're not using some of the functionality that's out there that would really allow us to do things in an automated fashion. For instance, I know TigerPaw has a feature with QB-Track that you're able to do that really well, but a lot of people aren't using things like that, and so we're doing a lot of unnecessary work, or in some cases just wasting time by not using a lot of the system that we possibly could. So have you found that to be the case there, James, among people you've been talking to?
Yeah, absolutely, especially in the accounting side. That's one of the areas TigerPaw really shines. Is there was actually a recent case study where one of the clients really rolled out central billing, automated billing, and the automated payment processing, and saved over 75% man-hours in that department on a monthly basis. So, so someone either got a big raise or they got a huge pay cut, one or the other. I hope they got a raise. But that's a great example of just making your tools, save you money.
Yeah, and I think that's the key, is you've got to figure out, you've got to understand best practices, and sometimes you can get that from TigerPaw, sometimes from peers, sometimes you engage consultants for a limited period of time. But I threw in the bottom line here, Brian, I snuck that in on you. Too often there's a belief, well, I just can't do that.
Right.
And I, and it has to do with financial. You're going to see it in a moment on service delivery. I'll come back to that. But you can achieve best practices. You can get over these hurdles, break through these walls. There are ways to do it. Part of it is your leadership. Part of it is culture. And a big part of it is then once you make those decisions, how you implement, and that's where TigerPaw as a tool comes into play. And this is what it starts to look like more. And you want to speak briefly to this, Brian?
Absolutely, yeah. So having clear metrics and a clear budget that we manage to on a monthly basis. So we're able to see at the beginning of the year, okay, here's where we're going. Here's my revenue target, but not only that, here are my cost targets. Here's how many people I'm going to hire. Here are the costs that go in with that, and then we're able to track our performance to that on a month-by-month basis. You're able to, once you have your chart of accounts set up correctly, you're able to track key metrics like gross margin and multiples on your labor, and actually hold your managers accountable to that. And then you're able to automate a lot of things, like James said a minute ago, really being able to decrease time that it takes for a lot of those overhead type tasks. And then you're really able to get your employees into accountability for the financial performance of the company ultimately. And this is one thing that we did at my previous employment, was we would go through our financials on a regular basis and help our employees understand, okay, here's where we're at, and here's where we need to be, and here's really how you can impact these numbers. And not only that, but go one step further to, hey, also, if you do impact these numbers, we're going to incentivize you for that. So there's a lot of things that you can do once these things are in place, and really get your employees engaged in that game, so you're not the only person that's trying to increase your profitability. Your employees will be as well.
And I think that's one of the beauties about really having great financial management, and is that you can do that piece that Brian was just talking about. You can make the financial metrics real at the employee level. And the other component is, you know, with some people that we talked to about our virtual CFO service, during the first 90 days, Brian will make all the decisions on on spending. He will be Dr. No. That's what I like to call you. Sorry, Brian. But some partners are spending too freely. And when you get somebody who's going to be a Dr. No for 90 days, that really wakes you up to, like, whoa, you know, there's another $5,000 on the table here each month, you know, type of thing. You get money that happens, and then you build that discipline, and then that backs off over time. But you get somebody who really drives that, and an understanding in your culture what's going to happen. Once again, Tiger Paw is going to help you if you get it structured properly and you use it fully, is going to help you drive that performance and give visibility to your people on achieving it. Let me jump to the next one, because I do want to stay in our time frame. Service delivery, sorry, my favorite picture of a potential geek. I've never met anyone that looks like this, but I just love the photo. So when service delivery metrics, you know, they're missing, things aren't happening, the thing I always hear about, Brian, is, and I'm sure, James, you've got an earful on it too, is, you know, oh, I just can't get my techs to enter their time each day. Right. You know, I can't get them to fully document it. You know, it's like, that goes back to that believing you can't do it. You can. Mm-hmm. You know, you can. So anyway, Brian, you want to touch, I mean, you're more service delivery in the background. You want to lead on this one?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are so many people, and we hear that over and over again. It's, well, like, there's no way they could enter their time in real time, or there's no way I can get them to, you know, to spell correctly so that I can actually get good comments on the invoices and things like that. And you know, let me just say, there are hundreds and hundreds of partners that are able to do that. And that goes back to, Dave, where you were saying, you know, people just don't believe that they can do these things, and really you can. You know, and a lot of that is your leadership, and a lot of that is your process documentation, and really understanding how to hold your people accountable to that.
Yeah, and I think that comes back to what you were saying earlier, that when you get these systems in place and you have the accountability in place, and some of you need that extra accountability from, you know, a contract CFO, or maybe you've got somebody that you haven't assigned proper responsibility to, you can do it internally, whatever. But when that's done, there is an understanding of how these things are going to be done. There is a standard. It's like, no, wait a minute, you're going to meet this standard. Like this, 3X billing model. You know, oh, we could never do 3X. Well, then what can you achieve? Okay, where do we build this? How do you do that? And quite frankly, for some of you, you've got a business that needs to outgrow some of your employees. Sorry to say that, but I know you've done the same thing, James, in your consulting. I mean, you've had an employee maybe they've been with you 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, but quite frankly, if you're going to grow the business to the next level, they have behaviors that are not up to your standards, and they're dragging down the rest of the team, and they need to be given an opportunity to meet your standards, but if they can't, then they need to be cut loose, and you need to move on. That's a whole nother webinar, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So, but these are the types of things. I think a big thing for you, Brian, are these repeatable processes.
Absolutely. And when you really start to look at these things, you start to see how if I'm doing things consistently and systematically, then I've got my processes documented. I've got my tools set up correctly, not only on the PSA side, but also the remote monitoring and management side. I've got them integrated. I have clear metrics for my employees, and all my employees understand how they're supposed to perform their jobs, and they're doing it well. And when you do that, not only are you driving engagement with your team members, but then you're also going to end up having a much better client experience as well. So let's say you got your help desk, and it's really, you've got somebody answering the phone, or you don't have somebody answering the phone, and tickets are just coming in, through email or through the web, and there's not really a good process for, okay, how do we alert the customer that we got it? How do we alert the customer we're working on it? How do we let them know about their, what the resolution plan is for this? And then, and how do we confirm with them that it's complete? If you don't have those things in place, you can't even be sure how you're doing on your service to your customers. Once you have a lot of those pieces in place, you're really able to drive not only the employee side of things, but also the customer side. And it can be a challenge to get there, but again, it is doable.
Yeah, and I think, and I'm kind of curious, James and Brian, with my best clients, because there's this transparency and they're fully utilizing their tools, I find that employees hold other employees accountable. It doesn't just come from management. Have you guys found that true too?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the favorite things for me to do in any consulting opportunity or even here at Tiger Paws, it's transparency. And you have to have the right tools, to make the numbers visible, not just to the department head or the team. I like making them visible to the entire company. So everybody knows what the goal is, and everybody knows what their performance is, and making it visible, it makes accountability really easy, because if somebody's at the bottom of the stack, other people will razz them and tease them a little bit, and the manager doesn't have to say anything, but a lot of people take pride in, if you create that fun, competitive environment where everybody wants to be number one or number two or number three, and you're all jockeying for position, it's fun. It's a purpose every day, instead of just trying to do the best you can. But I love transparency in all departments, especially as it relates to productivity, and always comparing in a visible, internal way the actual performance to the goal. I'm a big believer in that.
Yeah, good. Okay, and then to wrap it up, the fourth component was sales. So sales, it's amazing to me the number of companies I talk to where there's either no quota, or quite frankly, what's more common is there's a quota and nobody pays attention to it. You've got a quota, and the person hasn't had a quota for 6 months or even more than a year, and they've still got their job.
Yeah.
So we recently started doing, in addition to the virtual chief financial officer, a virtual chief sales officer, where I actually manage sales teams. And it's amazing the missing ability of salespeople to be able to effectively communicate the value proposition of the company and ask questions that relate to business issues instead of talking, speeds and feeds, bits and bytes. And how does that drive? So, when you're using this systematic power, remember, we're going back to systems, repeatable processes, so they drive efficiencies and effectiveness. Everybody's got clear metrics. You're seeing accountability on a weekly basis. They're driving towards these numbers. They're entering data as they make calls. It amazes me how many salespeople don't enter data, even that they made the calls. It's like, well, what are you doing then? Why are you sitting here? What your systematic follow-up, there's standards for behaviors, activities, results, there's accountability. And once again, this drives the business. And this is, once again, this is not a webinar. This is a day-long, 2 days type of workshop, but both been there. And TigerPaw, once again, is a tool that provides transparency, can manage these processes, keep you on top of them, and drive them through to drive the business, and super, super important. So we've talked about leadership, we've talked about financial management, we've talked about service delivery, and now we've talked about sales. These are all driven by what I call systematic power. Mm-hmm. How effective your systems are, as Brian calls repeatable processes, are to drive your business, and they come back to leadership, your style of leadership, your culture, and then as you've gotten those, so they're more best practice, then how do you implement those, how do you monitor them, and it comes back to TigerPaw, and that's where I hand it back to you, James.
Great, thank you. So we've been talking about the importance of running your business on the right platform and having the right tools, and I've always said, as a leader, it's our responsibility to provide the tools and the resources to our team in order for them to meet and exceed the goals we give them, right? That it is our responsibility. And I'm a big believer in TigerPaw. And 3 of the key areas that I think makes TigerPaw stand out above and beyond the competition is in these 3 areas. The automated workflows and central billing. We talked about that as a key feature throughout multiple departments, not just in sales and marketing and in the service desk and in the accounting and so forth. You can automate a lot of the workflows and take man hours out of your day-to-day tasks. That's huge. Sales and marketing. TigerPaw really grew up as a CRM company. That's really the strength and the core. These other tools that we compete against really grew up as service, companies. So if you want to manage your service desk and manage tickets, great. They're great time tracking tools, but if you want a platform that can grow your business and take it to the next level, I feel there's no better tool than TigerPaw from a sales and marketing standpoint. And then to me, my favorite, the 3rd point, really is the reporting and the dashboards. And that's what we're talking about today. It's getting the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decisions. TigerPaw actually has real-time dashboards. Most of us anymore have 2 displays up on your desk, one for your day-to-day tasks and 2 to watch CNN, right? No, just kidding. The
my office.
Yeah, in my office, I've got the floating dashboards up all the time, and it's real-time visibility into actually what's happening in your business. So you do have a vibe on what's happening regardless. Many of you have people in multiple locations. You can't just walk around and go look and see what they're doing. You have to know what they're doing. And if everybody's on the same tool, same platform, you've got that visibility. So from a reporting and a dashboard standpoint, TigerPaw's strength really is around the business intelligence, and you as a leader, you've got all the information you need at your fingertips to really control the growth. So those are some huge 3 key areas. So next slide. So my point is, if you've liked some of the things that we've talked about today, I'm just going to give you one action item or one request. All you have to do is just simply email sales@tigerpaw.com. and we'll be happy to set up a customized demo. We've got some questions for you. We'd like to learn more about your business, some of your struggles, your growth plans, and so forth, and we'll put a custom demo together for you, all right? So please just email us at sales@tigerpaw.com, okay? So next slide.
Of course, the only problem is your conference is going to sell out, so they better hurry up and contact you.
I know, I'm nervous about even bringing that up, so...
You only got like 24 seats left, so it's like.
Well, thanks for highlighting that. I was trying to skip it. But yeah, so we actually have our conference coming up here at the end of the month, and we're actually going to sell out. So that hasn't happened before. You know, this will be a record attendance. So for those of you lucky ones that have already signed up, you're in a good spot. If any new clients do sign up prior to the conference, I promise to sneak you in the back door somehow. That was a promotion we've been running lately. So any new client that signs on will get 2 free conference tickets. It's an awesome conference, and the Manage to Win team are going to be there as well as one of the 45 educational breakout sessions that we have. It'll be the biggest and best conference yet. And then lastly, any client that does sign on, we're offering a free competitive data conversion and a free install, and also a free self-guided implementation. So we'll help walk you through the implementation and get you up and going, and give you 10% off to boot if you buy before November 30th. So we'll just do that for the first 10 people that email sales@tigerpaw.com. We'll get you locked into that promo, and hopefully I'll see many of you here later this month in Omaha, Nebraska at the National Conference. So I'm going to go ahead. We'll close up the webinar. I wanted to thank everybody, thank our presenters for today's content, and then also thank all of you who had good attendance today, and look forward to seeing you all here hopefully at the conference. And stay tuned to upcoming webinars. We're running these educational webinars on a weekly basis, okay? So take care, everybody, and have a great day, all right? Bye now.